on January the 21st, 2024, the Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, announced a ban on the usage and distribution of styrofoam and other single-use plastics in the state. It was supposed to start immediately, but I guess listening to the cries of a lot of stakeholders in that value chain, it has moved, and regulation or implementation started on Monday yesterday. Now let's find out from the Director of Permanent Secretary, Permanent Secretary, Office of Drainage Services and Water Resources of the Ministry of Environment in Lagos, Engineer Mahamood Olakunle Adegbite, joining us now to tell us how it's been since yesterday. Engineer, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on the program. How has it been? Implementation on the ban started yesterday. How was the experience? How are you implementing it?
Okay, thank you very much. As you know, the issue of styrofoam is not, of course, the noise is just that the fact that Lagos State has banned it in a risk, but it has actually been banned since 2020, except the fact that we gave a moratorium of about 2 years for it to, at least for the manufacturers and the sellers to get their act together and make sure that they get it off market. So the implementation yesterday shouldn't be a surprise, but of course, you know how we are. It is still a surprise, but it's something that we are very sure that within the next 2 weeks, it will be, once it is sustained, it will we'll have it closely, we'll have everything off our markets.
So tell us, how is it working? Like you go to factories where they are being produced, you shut them down. How are you implementing it?
Okay, the thing is, we know the factories. In fact, this afternoon, we are, just as a continuation, we are having meetings with the manufacturers again, not the first time. We're having meetings with them. But for now, what we are doing is at the markets, we'll get them off the markets. Also, the factories, we are telling them that latest by Friday, there shouldn't be any production at all.
Okay, but what about those that have already gone beyond the production? For instance, you have some food sellers, barbecue sellers, they use all of that. Are you also dealing with them, or you hope that dealing with the producers and distributors will thin out the supply to them?
It is across the value chain. Again, I like the picture you are showing now. Look at what we have in our canals, and it is not only it's not peculiar to this. Even the lagoon is also filled with styrofoams. Most of the part of our lagoons are becoming dead zone because the fishes are also taking this plastic stuff. So it's something that must be done across the value chain. So both the sellers, the manufacturers, and everyone involved are targeted. So we are sure that by next week, we shouldn't have any in our market. But as I tell you, we will sustain the enforcement and make sure that this environmental nuisance is off Lagos.
Any fines? Do you have penalties for,
For now, there will be no fine. All we just want to do is to make sure that we take everything off the market, and then subsequently, maybe as we go along, we will now bring out the fines. But it is not an issue of revenue generation. It is something that we know that we have to take off our market, off our streets.
And well, thank God you're the permanent secretary in the Office of Drainage, because we already have those that have been out, and I mean those pictures, the videos that you saw, they are for real in a lot of areas in Lagos. What's the state government doing? The rains have started. What's the plan?
Okay. Just as you mentioned, the fact that the rains are here and the fact that we are tackling the #1 nuisance in our channels, which is what we are seeing on our screen now. But basically, what we are doing is to ensure that we maintain all the channels. Again, this is not the silting, this is the rubbishing, or what you call it, garbage. It's more of cutting away refuse These are household items that should be in the solid waste bin, not inside the channels, but this is where we find ourselves, and we must make sure that we sustain maintenance aspect of the channels and also complete all ongoing projects. For this rainy season, today is a litmus test for us, and we are sure that we are compacting it within a reasonable time. What you have all over the state is just specks of flash flood, which I'm sure that by now we shouldn't have anywhere flooded in the state again. We have issues where we have pockets of flash flood, but we are containing them.
But we know that apart from, if you look at our drainages, it's not just styrofoam you have there. I mean, you have the plastics, you have the sachets and all of that. While I don't think the people would welcome, a ban on everything, but we've been talking about enlightenment of people not dropping waste on the floor in the drainages for a bit, but sometimes it seems like the people forget, or I don't know, perhaps we don't have enough waste bins in public places enough for people to turn to when they have waste to dispose.
You see, it's just a question of course, I am very sure that there's hardly any day that you would not see or hear anything from the state government, whether in terms of appropriate solid waste management or not throwing garbage inside our drains, but our people are just a bit recalcitrant, and we will just ensure that we engage more. We will ensure that we put out enough advert out there to make sure that people hear. But basically, and that is why you will see that we are also touching all the open spaces. Basically, where we have issues are those people that you cannot document, or undocumented people that are staying under the bridges, so those do not have where to throw their garbage except inside the drains. We are making sure that we address those issues one by one. If you notice, we have cleared out Ijora Olopanda Bridge, we have cleared out our Balinde. So it's something that we will ensure that we intensify, making sure that all our open spaces are not occupied by unidentified people.
All right. Thank you so much. Permanent Secretary, Office of Drainage Services and Water Resources, Ministry of Environment in Lagos State, Engineer Mahmoud Olakunle-Adigbite. Thank you for your time, and we wish you the best as you go about the enforcement.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure.